Wealth is not what you think it is. Everyone thinks what they see on social media, all the private jets, the Lambos, and the parties is what wealth is, but that is simply not true. Now, sure, there are some that actually do that, but there is actually an entire industry behind fake influencers looking wealthy and everybody else trying to look wealthy as well. We've actually covered that before on this channel. So I will give you 5 facts that are absolutely true about millionaires that are completely shocking and you probably don't know. Because I believe you can be that millionaire and have financial freedom and be able to retire early or do whatever you want. The entire system is set up for you to not know that, not understand that, and that's despite all the lies that you've been told. So if you want to take total control and achieve that financial freedom, make sure you're subscribed to this channel because they don't want you to know any of this. They want you working forever, and I want you to be completely free from this mess. So number 1, 80% of millionaires are first generation. So a common thing I hear is, well, most wealthy people inherited their wealth or something of that nature. They got it from somebody else. Basically, they were already wealthy before they even had to try, but statistically, that is not true. The vast majority, 8 out of every 10, it was higher obviously 20 years ago than it is now, but 8 out of every 10 are first generation millionaires, meaning their parents were not wealthy. They became wealthy on their own without the help of their parents. And I mean, it makes sense. We've had an explosion in wealth over the past 20 years, and this current kind of wealth cycle that we're in overall is still kind of in its infancy in a lot of ways. Just like we're just now seeing our first billionaires. Obviously, those right there, the first generation of billionaires, much like when we had our first generation of millionaires. So if you think you need to have rich parents or you need to already have wealth in order to become a millionaire, that's actually not true at all. And you're actually statistically in the right category to become a millionaire. Number 2, 88% of millionaires graduated college. Now this one honestly was the second most shocking one on the list for me. I did not realize the numbers were so high because you typically think of millionaires as entrepreneurs, folks of that nature, and a lot of those folks did not graduate college. Now, I understand there's a whole different debate on is college worth it or not, and it's like a lot of things in life, it kind of depends. If you're going to go get your fine arts degree, totally not worth it. There's more worthless degrees than there are degrees that are actually worth something. So I agree completely, college is not right for everybody all the way across the board, but clearly there are skills that you gain in college that are valuable, that carry on to make you millionaires in the future. Now that could be everything from understanding business on a higher level to connections that you make in college that you're able to make through alumni associations and things of that nature, to just understanding stuff on a different level and getting kind of thrown into the cycle of work, come home, pay your bills, and being around a lot of folks. So everybody, when you talk about wealth and you talk about who you're around, typically you can look at your 5 closest friends and that right there will tell you exactly where your wealth category is. If they happen to all be, they work a regular job making, minimum wage or just above minimum wage, guess what? That's probably the category you're going to fall into as well by default. College does give you exposure to other folks who are able to actually elevate you, who are in those higher levels than a lot of other places. It's very, very hard to find those people otherwise. But when you're on a college campus, these folks actually come to you. And I understand, I hear all the time, hey, Zuck didn't graduate. He dropped out of Harvard in order to do that. Well, I would argue that's true because he met somebody in college who was a venture capitalist that said, hey, you got something here. We need to move on this now. Don't wait 2 more years till you graduate in order to do that. That'd be the first thing. Second, I think he's gotten his degree afterwards. I'll probably just give it to him. Who knows? Donate a bunch of money, get a degree. Understand that completely. But on the flip side of that, he was smart enough in the first place to get into Harvard and get a couple of years into Harvard while he was building this Facebook thing on the side. So clearly he had ability and skills that are far beyond the vast majority of folks out there to begin with. Ivy League schools are hard to get into. Heck, 2 years in an Ivy League is probably better than my, 4 years in a regular state school. So, in the end, even though we want to maybe discredit it, maybe I was surprised, just like a lot of you guys are, the numbers are that high. Clearly the numbers are that high for a reason, so there is some validity to it. But again, I just caution you, kind of depends upon what you want to major in as to whether or not there really is anything helpful in regards to college or not. Number 3, 93% of millionaires use discounts. Again, that is 93% of millionaires use discounts. And one of the biggest things that I hear from folks who are not millionaires, and I think when I hear it, it makes me go, I don't think that person's ever going to be a millionaire. And let me explain it why. But when I hear somebody say something like, well, if I was worth 10 million, 20 million, I wouldn't worry about discounts. I'd do whatever I wanted. That right there tells me they do not understand the value of money in the first place. Millionaires aren't seeking discounts because they're cheap or they're looking to screw somebody or anything else. It's because they understand the value of a dollar and a habit when they didn't have their millions and use discounts and everything else and coupons and everything else in order to make things happen because they understand the value of the dollar. They don't let their wealth dictate whether or not they understand that value of the dollar or not. I doubt very seriously they're sitting there clipping coupons in order to try to make the grocery bill lower for the month or anything else like that. But the reality is 93% of them use discounts, which tells you they absolutely value the money. And again, when I hear somebody say, hey, if I was that rich, I would never use discounts, I wouldn't care. I know that person is never going to be rich in the end because they don't value money in the first place. They may say that they do. They may, think that they do. They may take advantage of discounts right now, but that's more to get what they want because they don't have enough money in order to get it. It's not because they understand the value of a dollar, and there's a vast difference between the two. Number 4, there are 1,700 new millionaires every day. Think about that for just a second. While you're sitting and watching this video right here, there's somebody becoming a millionaire right now. And over the course of just the next 24 hours, there will be 1,700 new millionaires minted. Oh, and by the way, that starts off the next day again. There'll be a new 1,700 people become a millionaire the next day. That is daily, guys. That's how many people are becoming millionaires. So to say it's not possible or it's not for me or, it's so hard to do or it's not really achievable, the reality is there's 1,700 people doing it every single day. Now, obviously, they didn't start off today where they're at, and then tomorrow they're a millionaire. They may have built for 5 years, 10 years in order to get there. That very much is true and probably more likely. But if you don't start today on your journey, you will never be one of those 1,700 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when it's your time to be one of those 1,700. If you're one of those folks that kind of has that mindset that thinks you can't get there, you're right, you're not going to get there. And you'll be one of the other folks sitting there going, well, those 1,700 must have gotten lucky. They must have had rich parents or whatever other narrative that people throw out there. Don't be like that. Understand that there's 1,700 new millionaires made every day, and there's no reason why it can't be you in time. And number 5, only 20% of millionaires are retired. That means 80% of them have already been millionaires, already making millions of dollars, and they're still working. And that right there is another one of those times kind of whenever I hear somebody say, oh man, if I had that amount of money, I'd just be sitting on the beach doing nothing. And my response usually is, then you're probably going to lose your money because you're not paying attention to your money in the first place. The reality is you're still going to work, just the kind of work that you do and how you're going to define work is going to be very different in the future whenever you have that $1 million status. It's going to be different. So you've got to get that mindset out of your mind that you're just going to go sit on a beach and earn 20% and do nothing for the rest of your life. And instead understand it just means work is going to change into something different. Now, maybe you are sitting on the beach for part of the day, and then the other part of the day, you're keeping up with your investments. You're taking care of your businesses. You're taking care of your other assets that you have. Completely possible there. But the reality is only 20% of those people are retired, typically because once you unlock being a millionaire, you start to realize there's levels to this game. And oh, by the way, once making your first 100,000 is the hardest. Then the millionaire is the next hardest. And then after that, as you start to move up the scale, it actually gets easier and easier and easier. And so you'll have a reason to continue to work, continue to get better. And more importantly, you'll probably enjoy it a lot more than what you're doing right now today where you're at. So you might not necessarily want to retire. Maybe you part-time retire. Whatever the case is, statistically, they're still working, and that tells you a huge thing about their mindset. The good news is this channel is all about alternative routes to retirement and financial freedom because they want you working forever. I want you completely free from this mess, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of that content because they absolutely don't want you to know any of this. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.